This is a high quality quickie, yeah, by B-Scar TV. And we're back with another episode of B-Scar TV, and I appreciate you as always for tuning in. In our last high quality quickie, we discussed building a brand and a fuller identity outside of sport. Talked about my experience as an athlete, one that's experienced injuries, has experienced absences from the game of football, which is a sport that I play, and my process and journey to try to find a more fuller sense and understanding of who I am as Brennan Scarlett, the human being, not just Brennan Scarlett, the football player. And so as a follow-up to that high quality quickie, we thought that we might make it a little more concise and just give 3 of the biggest takeaways of that conversation. Takeaway number 1, pay attention to yourself. Pay attention to where you're spending your time. Think about what brings you joy, what brings you calm, what inspires you, what motivates you. These things outside of sport, outside of the game that you play, what else is there? Because more than likely, you are spending your time in other spaces, and what's important is to identify where you're spending that time so that you know. And so it's not just passively spending that time, but then maybe more importantly is why are you spending your time there and reflecting on that. And so pay attention to yourself, to these things that you're doing, these things that make you who you are, because ultimately where you spend your time, your hobbies and your passions make up who you are, and they help to shape who you are. Number 2, explore. Actionably explore these passions. Actionably explore the communities that share these passions and things that you're finding joy in. And then, upon actionably exploring those spaces, look to join communities. Find other communities that share in those interests. And in this day and age, the internet is so prominent in our lives. We always got a phone in our hand. We're always communicating via social media, video games, Snapchat, Instagram, Be Real. We're communicating all the time. And then also in the physical spaces, right? Your homies, your friends, the folks that you're spending your time with. Think about starting to dedicate some of that time, whether digitally or in person, spending some of that time dedicated to spending the time with the communities that share the interests that you're into. So whether that's music, whether that's film, whether that, for me, I love indoor plants. I love it. And I found that I loved it early on in my career, in my NFL career, when I was dressing up my first apartment as a professional football player. I said, you know what? I need some life in here. And I got a corn plant. And that brings me to the last piece of this actionable exploring of your interests and your passions. And that is to express and publicly share those passions. When I started sharing my corn plant, or what other plants did I have? My little, those little plants called that my little succulents. I have a fiddle now. Just sharing this with my Instagram community. I was just taking stories of them. You know how I was potting them when I changed the dirt, where I positioned it in the apartment. So it was, I had an artsy piece to my sharing. I found that there were people out there that they fucked with me because I liked indoor plants, because they liked indoor plants too. And then what I began to do is go seek out some of these communities, right? I tried to find the thought leaders in the indoor plant space. And I did that on Instagram, a place where I'm spending a lot of time anyways. And I followed some of the folks who were sharing knowledge about plants, and I communicated with them, asked them questions, and I just explored this. And I think that's the whole point when you're looking to find those communities is, reaching out, being willing to reach out. And oftentimes as athletes, because we are who we are, especially if you reach the professional ranks, but regardless, playing college, high school, whatever, people who share interests, they're always excited to meet someone else who shares those interests. And if you are a person that also brings a unique experience of being an athlete to the table, then you have your own unique set of experiences that can influence or excite the community that you're looking to join. In my experience, whether it's indoor plants or, personally, I knew I wanted to start businesses, right? I knew I wanted to explore companies and invest in companies, and I wanted to find companies that were aligned with my own values, right? And so also a creative person. I want to figure out who else is doing creative agencies, who else is hosting podcasts, who the distribution companies are, and have conversations with them just to learn. I'm just curious. And then I've, been able to build an ecosystem and a network of people who share my interests. And now I've grown an identity that maybe at one time was, my name's Brennan Scarlett. I'm a football player. I play in the NFL too. Hey, my name's Brennan Scarlett. I run a creative agency. I run a nonprofit back in Portland, Oregon. I invest in real estate. I invest in this and that. Oh, and I also play NFL football. I'm also a football player. And now it's just a more fuller identity. Number 3, remain open to change. Let me douse this sweat off me real quick. I gotta prepare for this one. Remain open to change. We're changing every day, at every moment. The person that we are today was not the person that we were yesterday, was not the person that we were last month or last year. That's the one consistent thing in life, is that things will change. And so at every moment, be intentional about understanding how you've changed and understanding how your interests and passions have changed so that you can remain passionate about these interests that you're exploring and this identity and community and brand that you're building. So you want to build something that you're passionate about at every moment. And the beautiful thing about life is that you can always pivot. There is always room to be malleable to meet the things that you're into and the time that you're spending in them. I think it's so important to always reevaluate who you are and what motivates and inspires you at any given moment. And I think it's also important to start to set up a system where you can check in, that you can check in with yourself. And for me personally, I have a notebook that I keep, and my current one is very special to me because I've been keeping it for about 2 years. And one thing that I like to do, especially on flights, when I'm up in the air, being on flights is also one of the most creative moments for me. I've heard that there's some research behind being at altitude and your brain operates differently and you actually have more capacity to be creative. I don't know if that's true or not, but I feel that way. So when I'm on flights, I just look high level at my life, how I'm spending my time, what my goals, what my priorities are, and I write them down. And sometimes those goals and priorities are different than the last flight that I was on. And I can go back and I could compare. I said, wow, okay, Brennan Scarlett back in July of 2022 is a lot different than the Brennan Scarlett of October 2023. Or we're very similar, but there's little changes. I prioritize this thing over that thing for whatever reason. Then think about, like, okay, well, what is the reason? What circumstances or events have happened in my life that now has molded me to be just a little bit different? And understanding that change is okay and that it's inevitable. And accepting that, embracing that, and then shifting your goals in the way that you're living your life to meet those newfound interests and or passions, or sticking to the course because your passions, your interests that you identified when you first started down this road have stayed the same. And in that case, God bless you. You have found your calling. With that, those are the 3 takeaways of building a brand and identity outside of sport. It's been very important for me to do. And as I prefaced the blog post, in order to be great at what you do, which for me it was playing football, I was 100% locked in, committed to what I was doing. I wanted to be a great ball player. But at the same time, there's always respite. There's always rest. There's always recovery that happens. And there's always downtime. And I found it to be incredibly beneficial for me to find productivity in that downtime. Spending the time to pursue my passions and my hobbies and all these things, but, being intentional with it. And I think the intentionality now has allowed me, and I'm in a place of being absent from the game as an NFL free agent, or in the past being absent from the game with an injury, to then lean in to those other things that have been auxiliary to my playing career or have supplemented my life that has been built around football. And I can lean into those things and, just double click on them, check it out. And I've met incredible people along the way, built communities that I am blessed and fortunate to be a part of. And my network is expanded because of that intentionality in this journey. So I implore you all to go on your own journey, and I wish you luck. And if Brennan Scarlett, Scarlett Creative, whatever, if we can help you out in your journey, I'd be happy to tap in, because I understand that it's not easy. So until next time, appreciate y'all hopping on to this high quality quickie. Try to keep it concise. Try to keep it quick. the quickie got to be quick. Till next time, y'all. Peace. This episode of B-Scar TV has been brought to you by Scarlett Creative. For the full-length video episode and more content, find us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at B-Scar TV. And please, leave us a review. Drop a comment. What do you want to see? What do you want to hear? Who do you want to hear from? We would love to hear from you. This is your host, with the most, Brennan Scarlett, signing off. Peace.